Hey everyone, Keith Arkenberg Farms. And if you watched any of my stuff earlier this season, I really dove into the numbers of how our farm was operating with the CSA and came across this metric that really helps explain the health of your farm. And that is the amount of income you earn divided by the number of hours total worked on your farm. That number right there is the most important number because it lets you know how much you can actually get paid and how well your farm's doing. So I've really dialed it in this season and I've greatly improved that number, at least greatly in my opinion. So let me walk around, talk to you about it, and kind of explain how I'm making this farm much more profitable. So let me show you. Now, as you recall, I came across this number. Very good metric for judging your farm. That is the amount of income you earn per hour worked on your farm. Looked at all my year total last year, came out that we were making about $19 for every hour worked on the farm, which sounds like a pretty good number. But the problem with it was the fact that we have about 35% infrastructure cost, seeds, water, taxes, market fees, insurance, vehicle, the whole 9 yards. So that only leaves 65% to pay back, which left it to where I could only pay an employee about $12.35. That includes me as an employee. So last year, everybody was making about $12 an hour. This year, I've actually greatly increased that number by specifically making some very good changes on my farm. So the first change I made was to stop growing things that people just don't like kale here. Nobody wants kale anymore. I actually planted out like 3 or 4 of these because I have a farm store I work with and they kept requesting kale. Harvest them 4 bags. 2 weeks later, they still have 4 bags. So, not even worried about this. I used to grow a whole entire 90-foot bed of kale and sell it with no problem. So, cut out things that people don't want or people just do not buy from you. The next thing I did, kind of as a result of not growing everything possible that people want, is I cut out the CSA. No more CSA. We do a farm card, you can pre-order, you get a discount a couple times a year, but I'm not growing everything under the sun anymore. Instead, I'm growing specifically what I know sells and what the amount is that sells, which leads me to the third thing. I'm only planting out 100 plugs of Salanova a week anymore. So we used to plant half beds, 20 feet, whole beds, 40 feet, or the whole entire bed, because actually the bed splits right here in between the top bed and the bottom bed, all at once. That is pointless, that's absurd, that is crazy, unless you know you can sell it. You don't have to think of a bed. You can break it up and just next week I'll plant to here, week after I'll plant to here, and then I'll move down to the next block and go down the row. Very important. Number one way to lose money in market gardening is grow more than you can sell. Always try to sell out, especially if you're only doing farmers markets, by that 10 to 11 a.m. if your market ends by 12. The next thing we did was we cut out the farmers market that was severely underperforming. Can't really go and set up at a farmers market, which takes about 7 hours out of your day, to come back with 150. I mean, yes, you're making money, and if it's on a Monday after your Sunday, yeah, but then you got to grow more, which means you don't have as much, so you're spending more time in the field, and it just doesn't work. So we completely cut that out. Now we are back to our traditional roots of being just a market garden farm, which means we grow everything specifically for the farmer's market, and the excess we take to a farm store and sell. I did do a little bit of custom grow, you could say, selling that to a community, and they specifically wanted a bed of daikons, which I planted through here, and then in front of me here, just coming up right behind me, was a bed of watermelon radishes right through here. Grew them specifically for them, sold them at 20% discount. Very simple, very easy, very quick crop, and it was also highly profitable. Which reminds me, been working on expanding the Market Garden Farm School again. Head over to arkenbergfarms.com, scroll down near the bottom, Market Gardening Farm School, Digital Tools and Training. I'm working on the greenhouse section, working on a specific training course to show you how we grow our tomatoes, cucumbers, eggplants, and peppers in our greenhouse on my patent pending Arkenberg Farms Arkenberg style trellis, which just works awesome. Also, don't forget, also links down in the show notes, my Amazon affiliate store, where we have listed all of the items we use on our farm, easily accessible, easy to get. We actually use it to keep all of our items listed and easy to find when we have to order them. So don't forget, go check that out. So the final thing, which was not completely intentional this year, like I said, I really took it back to the roots. I was the only person that worked on my farm from the start of spring until present day. My employees are coming back now. They took a job as greenhouse reps for a company selling the flowers and produce and all that stuff at the greenhouses. So they were busy, put it all back to me. So I was doing everything. Usually I have a team that does market. I have team pack house. I have somebody out here in the field helping me occasionally. But this year I did all of it. And that is where I believe my new numbers are a little better than they'll average out later. But that is because when you do all the work, you work hardest and fastest because you've been doing this longer than anybody else, and you also know exactly what to do and when to do it. Which, I forgot to add, it's exhausting doing it by yourself, especially when you're used to having a team. But anyways, by freeing up the time of not planting too much, only planting what people really like, it allowed me to do things like plant more things that I never had enough of, just never had enough time to take care of, like beds of carrots. We grow carrots great here. They're super sweet, super long, pretty much perfectly straight. Not quite, we have heavy clay, but we get a premium price for them. We get $5 a bunch. Most of those bunches have 7 carrots in them, and when they get really big, like big carrots, maybe 5 or 6. Each of them come out to almost a pound each anyways, so we get the premium because people buy them, and we'll sell 50 bunches a week without a problem out here. And we haven't even gotten to the summertime yet. So with all of that combined, takes me back to the numbers. Remember last season, we were looking at our income per hour worked on the farm was right about 19, which came out to right about $12 an hour is what we could pay. This year, we've done much better. In the winter, which would be up until our first farmer's market in about mid-April is when the number cuts off, we had moved up to 21, which raised the pay up to $13.50 because of that. And you got to remember, during that time period is the time when I'm planting everything out for long season. Like, we're barely harvesting zucchinis over there. We are barely harvesting cucumbers. Tomatoes have not even hit. Our broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, those are on their first round. Those will be selling for another month. They're in the ground. Easy harvest, easy money. So now we'll look at the number from when the market started, which is about April, to now. So we're looking at about 2 month period. And I've taken that number from that 19 to 21 to 30. So we make $30 in income for every hour that we are physically spending on this farm, which is awesome. That actually raises the rate that I could pay myself up to $19 an hour with no problem. My infrastructure cost shouldn't go too much higher. So that's looking at that $19 an hour comes off of 65% employee cost, 35% infrastructure cost. I'm producing more per hour, so my infrastructure cost should stay the same, and it should actually hopefully move that number from 65% to an employee to 70% to an employee, maybe 75, which is dramatic. I could take that, what was it, 19, and easily probably get that up to 22 at the end of the season after looking at infrastructure cost. So that's something very, very important to look at. Very, very important number to have. And also, we run everything through a Shopify point of sale. So I have the numbers to look at what sells, when it sells, how much sells, and really can base my farm plan off of that and have a very efficient plan on the farm to where we can make money. And most importantly, I can make money because there's a lot of work out here. You want to get paid for this. So as always, hope you liked what you saw today. Thought it was useful. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe. Keep farming. Have a good day.